Well, we're live here on Christmas Day on the Bleav in Steelers show. Pittsburgh loses its third straight game, and the Chiefs take care of business today, blowing out the Steelers 29-10. Welcome into the Bleav in Steelers show. My name is Mark Bergin, and this game was never even really close. I think the closest it got was the Steelers were down 13-0, and Jaylen Warren punches in what appears to be the Steelers' first touchdown today. Play gets called back. Darnell Washington gets called for a holding penalty. And on the very next play, Russell Wilson tries to find Pat Freiermuth over the middle. It's intercepted, and the Chiefs take over. And I really think that's as close as today's game got. I thought the Chiefs totally outplayed the Steelers from the jump in this game. And a big question I have is who is to blame? Because now the Steelers have lost 3 straight games going into the regular season finale against the Bengals. I understand that you're playing 3 games in 11 days. I understand how brutal that is. But the Chiefs were in the same situation as you, and the Steelers have now lost 3 straight. So where does the blame lie? That's what we're going to get into during today's Bleav in Steelers postgame show. Today's episode is brought to you by betonline.ag. We're into NFL Week 17. If you want to get in on any of the football action, betonline.ag is the place to do it. Head over to betonline.ag to get in the live betting, player props, over-under, spreads. Head over to betonline.ag. BetOnline, the game starts here. Who is to blame today? And honestly, I'm going to start with the defense, because this is the 3rd straight game where the defense has not looked good. You came into this game having allowed back-to-back 400-yard games. The Chiefs today finished with 389 yards of offense. They could have gotten to 400 if they really would have wanted to. Patrick Mahomes, there's the reason he's the best in the league. 29 of 38, 320 yards, 3 touchdowns today. And the Chiefs were pretty one-dimensional because you limited Kansas City to 69 yards rushing today. But Travis Kelce had a turn back the clock game. And you can't just say, well, Mark, the Steelers were without Joey Porter Jr. today, and that was the big difference. This defense, which is the NFL's highest paid defense, didn't show up today. And you want to know how I know that? 0. That is 0 sacks that you had on Patrick Mahomes today and 0 takeaways today. How have the Steelers won football games? It's controlling the clock, and it's winning the turnover battle. The Steelers did win time of possession today. They had the ball for more than 31 minutes, but the turnover battle 2-0. And that was really the big difference. And you forced the Chiefs to be one-dimensional. You shut down the running game, but they couldn't do anything to stop this Chiefs offense. I swear there was a drive where, to put the game away, the Chiefs just RPO'd the Steelers defense all the way down the field. And it was at the end of the 3rd quarter going into the 4th quarter. It was an RPO on every single play, and the Steelers had no answers. 0 sacks, and thankfully, you don't lose Cam Hayward for the rest of the season. He had a lower body injury. He went back out on the field. But where you at, TJ Watt? Where you at, Alex Highsmith? Where if you want to be the best of the best, and you've gone up against 3 straight teams that are going to be contenders in the playoffs, Philly, Baltimore, and the Kansas City Chiefs, and you lose all 3. So where are you at? If you want to be the best of the best, and if you want to be the highest paid defense in the league, it didn't show up today. Yet again, and the Chiefs could have had 400 yards of offense. So that's 3 straight games where the defense doesn't do what it needs to do. And we can make excuses. And you know what, too? I'll address the referees right now, because there were 2 plays where the referees kind of screwed the Steelers. The one was on the play where they said that George Pickens was down and he was still moving forward. Perhaps he could have gone for a touchdown, but there were 2 other Chiefs defenders in the area. All you have to do is shove him out of bounds, and the sideline doesn't miss a tackle. So that's one play where maybe it goes for 15 or 20 yards. Maybe it goes for a touchdown. Does it really matter? And then in the second half, Hollywood Brown had what appeared to be a drop. The Chiefs hustle the line of scrimmage. Mike Tomlin doesn't throw the challenge flag, and the Chiefs keep their drive moving. And credit Kansas City for being able to do that and understand what they needed to do to make sure that that play counted. They run a quick play, get 4 more yards, and they keep the drive moving. Do you really think that those 2 plays, which were blown calls by the refs, I'll admit that. I don't think it cost the Steelers today. In a 29-10 loss, be real if you're a Steelers fan. If you really think that those 2 plays cost the Steelers the outcome of today's game, you're kidding yourself. You're kidding yourself. And yeah, you want to see them call it straight up. And there's a reason why there's that narrative of, oh, the referees are helping the Chiefs with them trying to go for 3 straight Super Bowls. But you want to know what? There's a reason why the Chiefs locked up the number 1 seed in the AFC today, and they're 15-1, and it ain't the refs, because they find ways to win games. And you might want to say, well, the Steelers were without Joey Porter Jr. It goes to show how talented he is in the secondary, and that's the reason you couldn't stop Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs were without their best pass rusher today in Chris Jones, if we want to play that game. Straight up, you lost to a team that's better than you if you're Pittsburgh. And you got to figure it out, and you got to figure it out real quick as you go into the regular season finale against the Bengals, and the Bengals are fighting for their playoff lives. We'll see what happens this weekend, if they're still even going to be in the hunt going into the final week of the regular season. But if Cincinnati is, you're going to get the Bengals' best shot in the regular season finale on January the 5th in Pittsburgh at Acrisure Stadium. So who is to blame today? I'll tell you what, too. I think Jaylen Warren is running harder than Najee Harris. I know Najee's in a contract season. Warren was the more effective runner today for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Najee had 13 carries for 74 yards. Jaylen Warren on the ground, 11 carries, 71 yards. Had a better yards per carry. Jaylen Warren also had 5 catches out of the backfield for 41 yards today. Najee, 2 catches for 7. Russell Wilson was 23 of 37, 205 yards, had an interception. He was sacked 5 times today. The leading receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Pat Freiermuth, 7 catches for 60 yards. Pat Freiermuth on the fumble with the Steelers down 2 scores. And it's a heck of a play by Trent McDuffie, but Freiermuth had the ball in his left hand while he was on the right side of the field. This is a rookie mistake. You secure the ball on your outside arm, the arm that's closest to the sidelines. This is something you learn when you're learning to play the sport of football. Heck of a play by McDuffie in the Chiefs defense to take over to help secure the win late in the game. And I got one other beef with the Steelers late in the game, which made no sense. You're down multiple scores on a 4th and 2. It's 29-10. You punt the ball on a 4th and 2. Which, if you want to say, look, there's not enough time in the game, this game's over, fine. You punt the ball in 4th and 2. You almost lose Cam Hayward to a substantial injury. You don't. But it's 4th and 2. You're down 3 scores, and there's not that much time left, and you put the first team defense back in the game? This doesn't make any sense. This does not make a damn bit of sense. So the Steelers need to figure it out and figure it out fast. But that, to me, where it's, if you want to fold your hand in the game and say, hey, this is over, let's try to regroup for next week and get out of this game healthy. Why is a player like a Cam Hayward back on the field when you've conceded the game? Make that make sense to me, because it doesn't. Because it doesn't. And you don't go for it on 4th and 2. Even the announcers on Netflix today, I believe it was Nate Burleson, was saying, why not go for it there? Why not draw something up to try to continue the fight and try to win the game? That didn't make any sense to me in today's game. Those are my thoughts from today. I thought it was nice to get George Pickens back. He had 3 catches for 50 yards, 7 targets today. This offense did look better. I know you only get 10 points, but it's better with him back on the field. Kansas City's got a really good defense. I know Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce get all the headlines. This Kansas City defense is for real. And remember, they were without Chris Jones today. But the Steelers scoring only 10 points today and only getting 3 in the second half, that's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. And this defense hasn't played up to snuff. And you have to be able to regroup in the regular season finale going into the playoffs. The way this team is trending right now is troublesome. It is. Jerry Dulac, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, tweeted this out, saying it's the fourth time in the past 6 years the Steelers have lost 3 consecutive games in December, and the fifth time in the past 7 years they have lost 3 in a row after Thanksgiving. Oh boy. And we'll see. The Steelers are in the playoffs, remember, but could have locked up the division last week against Baltimore. You don't do that. It's what you do against the best of the best in the league that is troublesome as you get closer to January on this Thanksgiving Day. And straight up, the Steelers got coal for Christmas today. I want to know what Yins think. Where do you lay the blame? And what Yins think is when the community, the people that watch and listen to the Bleav in Steelers show, get to weigh in. So I'll get to the chats. I do want to thank a longtime viewer, Temple, at the end of last week's live stream. I want to thank you for your contribution to the Bleav in Steelers show. You can leave a super chat. If you do that, I will read your comment on today's show. A lot of comments to get through. And also, if you want to weigh in and call into the show, you can do that. That is pinned in the comment section on YouTube if you want to sound off and air your grievances a la Frank Costanza here on the Bleav in Steelers postgame show. Let's get to some comments from people watching today's Pittsburgh Steelers game. John saying, same old Steelers. John, thank you for checking in. Merry Christmas and a happy holidays to you. Temple, who I had just mentioned, saying the most disappointed I've been this season. Temple, I just watching today's game in the second half, it was just like, what is going on here? Kenneth saying that the Ravens will win the North. Daniel checking in, saying that Merry Christmas, everyone. Temple also saying Merry Christmas as well. Kenneth saying that the Steelers are an overrated team. Got a couple of other frustrations with that about the Steelers getting blown out today. Where do you lay the blame? And so let's get into that a little bit as more comments weigh in. Where you lay the blame. I mean, the offense only scoring 10 points is not acceptable, but I point back to if you don't have the holding penalty on Darnell Washington and then you don't have the interception by Russell Wilson, put another 7 points on the board. And then at that point, you cut it to 13-7. So I look at that. I look at the turnovers, and that turnover by Russell Wilson was very costly because it takes 7 points off the board after the holding penalty. And then again, trying to fight back in the game late in the game, Freiermuth's fumble, at least in today's game, I thought that was huge. But the slow starts as well is something that needs to be addressed, because against better teams, what you can do with a bigger lead. And I was watching this game with my dad, and we were both commenting when the Chiefs go up multiple scores and you only have a handful of possessions left in the game, even without Chris Jones, the Chiefs defense is designed to do exactly that when you're not just facing a deficit, but you're in must-pass situations late in games. That's exactly how the Chiefs want to play teams. That's the exact scenario of how they're designed as a team and where they have their playmakers. Karlaftis, Jones, typically. Again, they got enough pressure up front from other guys where 5 sacks on Russell Wilson, Nick Bolton, McDuffie. I mean, there's a lot of really talented players on this Chiefs defense. Don't discount that. And the Steelers actually ran the ball pretty effectively against this Chiefs defense. They had 136 yards on the ground, 5.9 yards per carry against the Chiefs defense that came into today as the 3rd best rushing defense in the league. So I thought the offense, despite 10 points, actually looked better. I'm not just trying to say, hey, to make you feel better and to try to find a silver lining after 3 straight losses. But with in the big differences is George Pickens' presence on the field, because you have to bracket him. Pickens had a catch along the sideline against McDuffie, who's as good a corner as there is in the league. And it was like, man, this is an element of the Steelers offense that's just been missing 3 weeks going into this game. And I thought he looked pretty good. I mean, with the hamstring injury too, you don't want to rush that. You're going to need George Pickens to make big time plays if you want to make a postseason push. You're going to need to. Deshaun Elliott was back. Larry Ogunjobi was back. Dante Jackson was back. I really thought this could have made the difference for the Steelers, but it's just the same narrative we've seen for the last several years now, where you point to Mike Tomlin's 18 consecutive non-losing seasons, The organization overall is 21 consecutive non-losing seasons. How many other teams would love to say that? But then you haven't won a playoff game since January of 2017. That's what this points back to, and that's what the point of concern is after a loss, again, to 3 straight teams that are going to be in contention. If you consider yourself a contender in the AFC North, you can't show up like you did the last 3 weeks because it hasn't been particularly close. So what's going to be the difference? And then the bigger question I have of even who is to blame, whether you want to point it to Mike Tomlin or a stagnant offense or an overpaid defense that's not getting it done, is who your quarterback's going to be next year. Is it going to be Russell Wilson coming back? Would you want to say, let's bring Fields back? Is Russell Wilson's deal like a 3-year, $100 million deal like Baker Mayfield got in Tampa? I'm not already trying to close the book on the 2024 season, but the way that it's trending, these are the thoughts that are starting to percolate in my brain after you lose your 3rd consecutive game against teams that are going to contend for the Super Bowl this season. So January 5th against the Bengals. And if the Bengals are still fighting for playoff positioning, that's a big division game. And I don't even care if the Steelers don't have anything to play for at that point. Put the Bengals season to bed if you can. You need to regroup and get better and rest up. Again, I certainly understand 3 games in 11 days. It's a lot. We knew this going into the season that you were going to have to stack the wins on the front half of the season for how brutal that it's been on the back half of the season. But what are the things that are going to be different about this year going into this postseason to where you could at least get a playoff win again for the first time since January 2017? Because when the standard is the standard, that standard still applies when it comes to the postseason. Looking through some comments. Terry saying totally out coach, simple as that. Andy Reid's one of the best in the game. And Patrick Mahomes, look, Patrick Mahomes is probably just licking his chops. And I know he's got the bum ankle now, and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are duking it out with Saquon Barkley for the MVP race. You don't think that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are gunning for 3 straight, that they're not ready? They took Travis Kelce out of the garage today, and he had turned back the clock performance today. Travis Kelce did. Looked really good today. Looked like he's ready to go. Looks like he's ready for January. Temple saying that the Steelers' pass defense has been subpar, communications issues especially. I'll say it. The Steelers could use a corner. They could use another receiver, another playmaker. When you're looking at the draft, and what are you going to do at quarterback next year too? Russ coming back. You're going to try to get Fields. You're going to try to get some stud in the draft and move up. Probably re-sign Russ. If you re-sign Russ, you probably won't have enough money to bring back Fields. Someone else will pay Fields. This is what we're talking about here. Oh, man. Despite all these frustrations, again, the Steelers will try to regroup on January the 5th against the Bengals, Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. And we'll see what they do as you head closer and closer to the postseason and where the Steelers, which seed they get, what that matchup will be. Keep it here on Bleav in Steelers. This upcoming week will get you ready for the regular season finale against Cincinnati. I want to thank today's presenting sponsor, betonline.ag. I want to thank the listeners and the viewers. I wish all of you a Merry Christmas, a happy holiday season. If you haven't already, leave us a 5-star review, Apple and Spotify, on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button on the Mark Bergin YouTube page. My name's Mark Bergin. Wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a happy holidays. I'll see you this upcoming week as we get ready for the regular season finale. Until then, take care. So long, everybody.